morning. Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, more or less here, and Quindy, our disembodied hands for all and always and forever. You see now, because you're a spooky Quindy, you're an eternal Quindy. And that means you'll always be here for us. Finger hearts. Unlike that John and that Justin. Well, but they're around. They're around. So hi. Hi, everybody. Ooh. Custom marble. I'm sorry, I'm catching up on chat. Oh, the marbles. Oh, yeah, the marble games. Aw. Oof. It's been kind of an oof morning. Yeah, kind of an oof morning. It's been a bunch of oof mornings, as you all know. I'm kind of looking forward to the weekend, I will admit, just to, like, kind of lie on my back. Like, I feel like a dog with lying on its back, like, with its paws in the air, like, just going, eh. I feel like doing that. I wish it was wet and windy here. It's not. It's one of our usual South Bay days. Oh no, disemoted. Wow. Anti-emoted. I guess if you were anti-emoted, every time you tried to emote, it would give you like a totally different emote or something. Or maybe it would implode a tiny little black hole on the screen. Something like that. I think if it imploded a tiny little black hole, that would be funnier. Yeah, Miss Dimp, are you okay? Like, how did I heard that it made landfall yesterday, like just short of a Cat 5 at Sanibel, right? I was reading that last night because I have friends who evacuated who live around there. You know, that sounds great, Kodiak. Do it. Do it. Need any teaching tips? Like, you know, just you know, ask me, or like, you know, watch my my fundamentals videos. Although, you know what, Kodiak, what could be cool, I guess it depends, but it would be kind of cool if you put together something on like the history of mini painting, if you felt up to it. That could be fun. Oh, the footage, I didn't even watch the footage because I didn't want to have bad time sleeping. Visual stuff like totally will give me bad dreams more than anything. Missed 5 by 1 mile per hour. Yikes. That's terrible. Yeah, my friends don't know if they're going to come back to a house. Like, and they just bought the house less than a year ago, guys. Like, it's just terrible. These are the people that own one of Kiki's brothers. So they had to evacuate with 2 adult dogs and a puppy. But yeah, that's a scary, scary storm. I hope their phone is okay. Watching very small and on phone. At least you have power. Like, that makes such a difference, though. It doesn't matter. Like, Kodiak, actually, you know what might work for you then, since you're not sure, since you're relatively, like, you know, if you're not sure about it, what you might want to do is do it from the, you know, because everybody watching it is going to be totally never have looked at mini painting before. So you could actually do a presentation on what I learned from starting this hobby. You could do it like that, you know. There's all sorts of spins you could take on it that doesn't involve just teaching mini painting. You could, you know, look at why you got into the hobby and what you've learned from starting it, you know. You know, the benefits that it, actually, since it's a physician thing, talk about stress relief. Talk about the benefits that it gives you as far as, you know, like if you feel like it, maybe, you know, it makes you relax more, you know, things like that, and why that might be. You could even take it from that perspective. Yeah, well, I'm good at this. I'm good at ideas. If you give me like something like that, I'm going to be like, here's a whole bunch of spins you can do. And those spins all, I think, make sense for you where you are in the hobby. But yeah, especially for a physician's position, I've always wished, frankly, that people would, that somebody would get out there and do a study on, and try to figure out if miniature painting actually, like, lowers blood pressure. Like, you know, and has positive health benefits. Like, I think they've done studies like this on art. But I've always kind of wished that somebody would do it specifically on miniature painting. Since miniature painting is so focused on tiny things, it's a little bit different. But yeah. When will you be out of it, Miss Dimp? When are they forecasting that the storm will blow through? Sorry, guys. Allergies again. It's been a bad allergy day on top of everything else. Ugh. Yuck. Yeah. I'm just hoping that. I mean, my friend is just like, if things are things, but she's just happy that their dogs and them got out okay. Yeah, hang in there, Miss Tim. Hang in there. You have our love, our big finger hearts. You have our big and our little finger hearts. Sorry, those are bad. These are good finger hearts. 3 a.m. Okay. Yeah, hang in there. Yeah. Yeah, people, man, you guys that stay in your houses, man, I don't know if I could. I guess if you're like in an area that wasn't called on to evacuate, it could still be scary. I think I would just leave the state. I'm a coward. I'm a coward. I believe in fleeing natural disasters. But then again, I grew up in like areas, and in Texas, it was tornadoes, right? So then I would definitely flee. Yes, what is most likely I could be voted in class most likely to flee a natural disaster. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Yeah, well, I mean, I was part of the cohort that during one, I think it was an artist conference, or maybe it might have been a Reapercon, where there was an actual tornado forming in the sky above Ed's house, and we were all over at Ed's house, like for dinner or whatever it was, and we're all there sitting, like taking photographs, and I don't know if you're on right now, Michael, if you remember, like you were like, you idiots, get inside, take shelter. One reasonable person was trying to get us to take shelter, and the rest of us were like, but look, a tornado, and we're taking pictures. Oh, coming in on this, I see. Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, if you've lived there for 5 decades, yeah, no doubt, Miss Nim. You have serious experience for sure. That's right. We were doing those nice leggings. I like those leggings a lot more. I still haven't decided on. I do think I'm gonna have to go yellow with the light because of the hair and the gold and everything like that. And I used to really I muted out that yellow so much. Time honored Midwest. Yeah, and I grew up in Wisconsin. There you go. That's where my tornado staring genes come from. I think I even still have a picture. No, it was not Proctor. It was Michael Janae, who worked for FEMA at the time and knew the risks. The sensible person among us. I think I still have that picture. Hold on. Let's see. Did I keep the evidence of my stupidity? 1 second. Almost always, because why not? It was right around the time. Yep, there it is. I had puppies. That was when the Kiri Leo puppies were born. Here you go, guys. We're sitting there, and we're all just watching that. It's like stretching across the sky. Actually, it's not straight up and down, but it's like stretching across the sky and slowly, menacingly turning. And we're sitting there taking photos. I don't believe it actually touched down. Yeah, nope. Yeah. Yeah, and it did. It floated right over the house, and it floated away, and I don't think that one ever touched down. But boy, it was something. Like, you could see how, like, people long ago, when they didn't understand, like, science and all that, how people would think that those were, like the doom of the gods, right? The hand of the gods at work, because, like, it was just, like, turning, and you knew that it was just wrong. Like, you felt that it was wrong. Yeah, so... But yeah, so that was that. I kept evidence of my stupidity. I was much younger back then. Yeah, younger and stupider. Ah, dear. Giant nope. Yeah, tornadoes were the natural disaster in Wisconsin growing up. We didn't really have, other than that and severe storms in general, we didn't really have any other natural disasters. Now I'm in the land of earthquakes. Trying to decide which I prefer. But I guess no matter where you go, there's something. All right, so let's what do I want to do today, guys? I think I want to map in the gold a bit more. And I don't remember what yellow I used, so I'm going to have to kind of wing it. I think I want to use... I'm thinking I want to use, maybe I'm going to start with maybe a lemon yellow. Let me grab it. Let me look at what I got. I think I can mute out the lemon yellow. I want to start with something pale. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I don't consider it. It's like, you're right, I don't. That's really weird. Thanks for pointing that out. Because, yeah, you're right. Lizards should have occurred to me, but, like, I was just like, da-da-da. I mean, that's a picture I wish I still had. Except that was before I had actual cell phone. Was the winter, the blizzard in Madison, like, my first or second year of college, that hit like -40 after it dumped a crap ton of snow on us, and like they actually canceled class. And for Wisconsin, for classes to be canceled in Wisconsin, it has to be pretty bad. Oh wow. But yeah, I hate the cold, so that was a very all right, so let's use our lemon yellow here. And I'm going to need to mute it out and gray it out. Wow, so this hurricane is not done, huh? It hasn't done enough work, huh? Wow. Let's use, I want to mute this out, and I don't want it to be vibrant. And so I don't want to use a really kind of, you see how kind of rich this color is. That's why it's called rich leatherite. But I want to use something a little more muted, something a little more gray. So I'm going to use shield brown here. Sorry, cat. The cat wants up. I think I am going to, I'm not going to do any of the, I'm not going to do the light yet, although I might use lemon yellow when I do. But I am going to set up my shadow color and mid-tone color. I'm going to mix those up and see if they feel right to me. But yeah, when you want a more muted, faded color, like use faded colors to build it. So lemon yellow has a lot of white in it. It's quite pale. It's going to wash it out. And then going with the shield brown, also a grayed out brown. Let's get this in focus where it needs to be. 1 second. Yeah, that's crazy. That storm sounds like a beast. I will admit, when I lived out on the East Coast, I was happy that I lived far enough north that that wasn't a factor. Hurricanes do scare me. Because really, really severe thunderstorms scare me. So that's a very muted color, and that actually works, I think, well with, in fact, I wanted to intensify the hair a little bit, so I think I'm going to. Oh yeah, Ivan. Yeah, I remember Hurricane Ivan. Remember hearing about that in the news. Small cat is terrified of snow. Snow is scary stuff. It's very cold. I agree with Small Cat. Yeah. Well, at least people have got warning. Like, that's the good thing about living in the times we do, right? Is at least we have tracking systems. We get, we pretty much can get play-by-play, and people who are in danger have time to get out. Like, that's, whether you choose to or not, at least we have that. At least that saves probably a lot of lives. And that just makes me, kind of grateful for what we've got as far as all that. All right, so now I'm gonna bring this up a bit with more yellow. I've got some very muted colors here, but I want just a little bit more brassiness in the highlights. So I am going to build a puddle of yellow, but I am going to put just a touch of this in it because this is still a little bit bright for me. I want a little bit tarnished, a little bit faded. Snow is great, except when snow is not great. It's cold. It's very cold. So cold. God, I hate being cold. Hey, those of you, I know, are a lot of you, I seem to recall many of you are into mysteries. And I wanted to recommend a mystery series. You probably have already read it, but I want to recommend it anyway. Because I started it yesterday. It's by an author named Louise Penny. Are you familiar? It's set in Canada, Quebec. The first book is called Still Life. And I just finished reading it last night. In fact, I stayed up a little late to finish reading it. I'm going to mix a little bit of this in. I'm kind of going to go back and forth till I feel good. But it's very, the reason I picked up the first book is that it was described in a blog I was reading as kind of a modern Hercule Poirot, like a very, and it feels like that. It's got that, the psychological analysis of the crime is more important. It counts as kind of a cozy, I guess, in that there's not crazy violence or, you know, any of that, but there's, yeah, pick her up. The first book, if you have Amazon Prime, the first book is actually free to read with Prime Reading, which is how I snagged it, but I just paid full price for the second one because I liked the first one so much. The writing is top notch. So Louise Penny. Oh no, I had a little bit too much of that on there, and then I got too muted there. So let me see if I can bring this back. Maybe. Maybe I can bring it back. Trying to mix these colors so I can just keep going while we chat this morning. Yeah, pick it up. I love Agatha Christie. I read so much Agatha Christie. I just reread just about a year or two ago, actually during the pandemic, I reread every Hercule Poirot and Miss Marple mystery. Because why not? It was during the pandemic. So I bought them all on Kindle, and I reread them all from start to finish, which was super fun. Yeah, see, this color just went a little off on me. It's a little bit, it's not quite there, you know. And sometimes when this happens, when and it offends my sense of order, I will honestly just take and go, nope, you're done, color. Sometimes I'll try to fix it, but then you're just throwing more good paint after bad, just like good money after bad. So instead, since I accidentally added the wrong brush full of color, I'm going to just add a little bit of that. Yeah, I remembered that a bunch of you like mysteries and cozy mysteries, and it's got a bit of art in it as well. It's really kind of cool. And it's just, the characters are great and complex, and there's a lot of little misdirections, and it was a very satisfying read. It was an extremely satisfying read. So yeah, have to say two thumbs up, and if I had extra thumbs, I would give them. I may actually have to leave a review on that because I really liked it. And I like characters and settings. So you know, I am not one of those people who like has to like I'm not disappointed if I can figure it out before the end. I actually don't often try. Like in the back of my head, I kind of am like, could it be this person? Could it be that person? But I'm more into like just being carried along by the story. So if you're the kind who wants to figure it out, maybe it'll be predictable for you. Maybe it won't. I'm not sure. She did a really good job of leading up to her ending. So, ooh, sunny side up egg. Up. Yeah, I love mystery novels. So there's this movement for a cozy fantasy genre, and there are a couple of books that I would count in it. I mean, a lot of the old, somebody actually in my writers club my writing group was making the point that a lot of the fantasy from the 90s, a lot of fantasy would count as cozy fantasy. But I think there needs to be a major movement for modern cozy fantasy. Because it seems like a lot of my friends are like, I would read cozy fantasy. I kind of want a cozy fantasy right now. You could do it. Like, it would be kind of fun to do a mashup genre that way. And I mean, I think a lot of the 80s and 90s would count, because it didn't have necessarily extreme violence and sex and violence. It just had, story. Like Glenn Cook's Garrett P.I. novels, I think those count for sure. Those are a straight up, like, mashup of fantasy and cozy detective fiction. Although there is some violence because fantasy. Technically, cozy fantasy would mean fantasy without really high stakes, without the save the world aspect, more focusing on the characters and the puzzle or dilemma. With the things that usually distinguish cozy is no extreme sex, no extreme violence, no extreme like torture, that kind of thing. Characters that you really can cheer for, quirky characters that are fun to read about, a little lighthearted humor, a little lighthearted romance, depending on the writer. But mostly, a cozy mystery is kind of in a way, it's a safe mystery, right? Like, that like Poirot's never going to get like caught and tortured by the villain. It's like you're not going to have to read that kind of thing, and they're not going to have really graphic violence. So that would be kind of like a cozy fantasy. So like I said, a lot of fantasy from the 80s and 90s actually would fit into that. I feel like the fact that I'm hearing about people wanting this genre now is kind of a backlash to the fact that a lot of books published now, especially in YA fantasy, are very dark and dystopic, right? And publishers think that that's what everybody wants. And a lot of people do like that genre, but a lot of people are also kind of turned off by that darkness. A lot of times I just want a safe, entertaining read that with characters I love, and so... Oh yes, absolutely, Mercedes Lackey's Valdemar books would qualify. Absolutely, except that the third book in Arrows of the Queen, or after Arrows of the Queen, does contain like torture and like I don't know about that. Like, she got pretty dark in, as I recall, in the third book. I kind of wonder too if she wanted to get that way or if her publisher pushed her that way. Knowing what I do about the publishing industry now, I'm not sure. Maybe she did, but there's some darkness there, and no, I don't actually consume most visual media. I don't watch TV and I don't watch movies, with the exception of just a few cherry-picked series and like if there's a movie I'm just really, really looking forward to because it's based on something that I want to see in the world. So yeah, if it's visual media, I don't actually do it in most cases, unless I get a really strong recommendation from somebody and I feel like I'm in the mood. The problem is that I'm not desensitized to violence or anything, so if there's anything like that, it really ruins my appreciation of whatever I'm watching. Yeah, exactly, Big Eiler. And so I wouldn't necessarily count them as cozy because I don't... thinking back on when I read them, I don't consider them as a safe read. Like, they had some really disturbing and dark stuff. So there's this great book that's fun, and if you like D&D type fantasy... it's called Legends and Lattes. My book club read it. It is very much cozy fantasy. Super cozy fantasy. The main character is a half-orc warrior who essentially has hung up her sword and decided to open a coffee house. Like, seriously, you should read it. It's a fun little book. It's decently written. The guy who wrote it writes video. He's a video game writer. So he's like written for a lot of popular video games. All right, I'm gonna get some liner out, some Rogue Shadow out here, and I'm gonna do a bit of lining, a little bit of darkening, but I want to keep it pretty subtle here on the blade, the hilt, because I'm gonna be doing some. It's pretty delicate work doing these pale muted colors. You don't want to overline it. I don't remember his name, but if you look up Legends and Lattes, you'll find it on Amazon. Right, Agent Marvel. Like, it's a trope, right? But it's a fun trope, and the character is, and it's female, a female half-orc, by the way. But yeah, it's actually I think I had fun with it. I had fun with it, and when I have fun with a book, I like to recommend it. I believe it was independently published. I believe that no publisher would actually pick it up, but it's done very well and gets very high reviews. And it is purely what I would call a cozy fantasy, because the stakes are high for the character, but it's not a save the world thing, right? It's that difference. All right, so everything that I'm going to do in gold, in this pale gold, I'm going to do in the shield brown first. Yeah, Travis Baldry. Yeah, and if you look at his about the author, it'll list the video games he's worked on, I think. But yeah, it was a fun read. It is not a hardcore read. If you just want something nice and relaxing, it feels kind of like YA. Or even you could even have middle grade people or middle grade read it, maybe, if there is a bit of violence and there is a bit of, I don't know. Yeah, you could. I think it would be an okay middle grade book. I certainly could have read it in middle grade, but then I was reading freaking Lord of the Rings in middle grade. Yes, a novel of high fantasy and low stakes. Yeah, and that's cool, right? Because it's relaxing, and you still care about what happens because the stakes are very important to the characters. And I think there's an art to that, and I think that people forget that you can write fantasy like that sometimes. And I'm as bad as anybody about this. I tend to reach for the epic in my stories. I do enjoy epic fantasy, and that's part of it. But part of me is really drawn to this genre, and maybe I need to write something in it. Like cozy, because I love cozy mysteries, and I've loved them since I was a little girl, and so it's like, and I've loved fantasy since I was a little girl. So it's like, why not? This seems like a very brain, like, I should do this. I should totally write something in this genre. Alrighty, so just going to block in some of this stuff. Oh, you know who he is now, yeah. Yeah, Torchlight writing. Yep, yep. I told you he wrote a lot of good, well-known video games. So yeah, pick up his book if you like him. If you like Torchlight and you like the other games he's been a part of. It's just a fun little book. And fun little books need to be promoted just as much as, oh my god, it's an epic read books. Good, Gibson. Maybe he'll write another one. I kind of hope that he'll write another one. Maybe even not with the same characters, but just kind of the same kind of premise. I like it. I think it's great. Although the same characters, I wouldn't mind either. All right, so I'm going to thin this a little more than I normally would for this liner. Normally I would go 4:1, but Rogue Liner has higher coverage, and I want to take it a little more subtle than that. So I'm going to have to go with an extra drop of water and then kind of assess. I might actually need a little bit more. The danger here is just if I go too little, then I'm not going to get the details picked out the way I want to. Oh, he has a bunch of books? Well, then I missed it. Then I missed that when I was kind of glancing through. I don't know what his other books are like, though. So I cannot recommend. But if you read them and you like them, then you should come back and let us know. I'm currently stuck into this Louise Penny series, so since I'm working on my book right now, I try actually to not read fantasy while I'm writing it. Instead, I typically read mysteries. Because, I was reading, I had actually made more progress in the latest, or the second Stormlight book by Brandon Sanderson, and I put it down, because I know that I am launching pretty hardcore back into my writing right now, or I would have if I hadn't gotten freaking sick. But now I'm planning and executing. Once the Patreon is caught up, it's hardcore write time for Anne. So I put aside Brandon's work because I don't want to. I always feel like if I'm reading a fantasy that's very strong when I'm writing, I always feel like it might color my writing, and I don't want that. So There we go. So getting these guys all etched in. Yes, the Patreon. I actually have both of my paint along videos filmed, and I'm working really hard on the $10 PDF today, and hopefully we'll get it in order for putting out by the end of today. And then I'll get those paint alongs edited, and then I have to work on catching up on my Fundamentals of Mini Painting series. I need to film 2 videos there, so I've been working pretty hard on catching up everything. Because I hate being behind. Even when it's for good reason, like being sick like I have. I just hate the stress of it. So I'm going to do a little bit of detailing. I'm going to put down the lines between these little skulls. And I'm going to darken in the eyes. Maybe, I wonder if he has a bunch of books, but if they're not on Amazon, the possibility is that he was picked up by a traditional publisher at some point. The books were published, and then they didn't sell as well as the publisher wanted, and so they essentially let them go out of print. That might be the case. Otherwise I can't think why Amazon wouldn't have the books. But that is one thing that can happen. And although traditional publishers are slowly like funneling some of their like nowadays, they at least throw the book into an electronic edition and let it kind of sit there. But if these were older books, then that could be they just didn't do that, so they're not going back to do it. That's pretty much the only way I could think that it would happen. Because otherwise, if they were in demand, if they were around, they would be on Amazon somehow, even if it was a secondary vendor. But this is the danger of the traditional publishing model, folks. Like, it's why I'm kind of happy that I'm going to independently publish my books. Is that if the book doesn't sell, the publisher just kind of yanks all support, and you don't have the rights to your work anymore. So you can't do anything with it. Even if the publisher like totally just drops it and isn't selling it anywhere, you can't do it yourself because you signed off all those rights. So it's for a new author, it can be a big blow if this is your world and you want to write in it, but you don't have the rights to your characters in your world anymore. So yeah, in the end, I decided that I was kind of happy that I was going to be independently publishing my books. Because then, even if they don't do that great, I can still keep them around and keep writing them if I want. It's my choice. It's not some publisher. Oh yeah, he is a voice actor. Maybe that's it, Agent. You're right, Agent Marvel. That's probably it. That is probably it. Because I thought Literature and Lattes was his, or sorry, Legends and Lattes was his first actual novel. But you're right. Now I remember that he does narrate. So maybe that's it. That makes sense. Although you'd still think, well, no, he'd just get a credit. It probably wouldn't be listed under him on Amazon. Yeah, I bet you're right. There we go. A little bit of lining, and again, it's not terribly bold. You can see that when I painted around these little rivets here and filled them in, you can see that it's not a very dark color. But yeah, if he's super busy with audio work, then I can see why he maybe hasn't put out another book of his own. I guess, because with some people, it's like they've already got a busy life, but they've always wanted to write a book, and so they write the book, and then when they're done with that, they're like, yay, I can go back to, bucket list item accomplished, I can go back to my regular life. I've got more gold parts I need to do over here. I totally forgot this dagger over here. And I think I want gold on the buckle here too, and I'm not sure up here though. I might just do that as leather because it's right by the hair. I can't do it as golds or it won't, it'll just blend together. That would not be good. Let's see here. The hilt and the scabbard, just a little bit of base coat in here. These are such tiny areas that the NMM isn't going to be real strong over here. There's just not a lot of area for it to convey. So you can see that this doesn't look as rich of a color as like this does, and that's entirely because this is a smaller area. All right. There we go. Oh, he has a website. Cool. Does the website say anything about future books? Or is it just his work in general? See, I love this because, you know, like, I feel like I have a Google team. I'm like sitting here painting this mini, talking about how I'm placing colors and saturation and stuff and composition, and you guys just running out and doing my Googling for me. Yeah, I think I just can't go there. That has to be... I just can't see what it is, like, up there. I guess I could go darker. It's just really hard. Because it really does look like... I guess, though, I could do it as leather. I could do it as a leather medallion. Let's do that. I'm going to grab my saddle brown. Valandar, 35 months. You're 1 short of a song. 1 month short. 1 note short. Yeah, but it actually makes sense color compositionally if you look at her. Because you've got this reddish leather, this cluster, and this cluster. Odd numbers are always better, so it kind of makes sense to go this kind of forms a pentagon then. So doing a leather medallion here kind of makes sense to me, as well as working better with the color composition. So I'm going to block that in. And really, when you've got a tiny bitter bob like that walking harder, you really just make the decision and go for it. Nobody is really going to naysay you. And if they do, they can go paint their own version. But there, so with that in there, now there is a difference between the hair and that piece, which is really what I wanted. And with all the leather that she's wearing, like, it is just as likely to be leather as to be anything else. She doesn't really need a brooch, so to speak, because her cape is, you know, like over her head and underneath these shoulders. So it's not like you can see the cape like coming around her neck or anything that it needs a fastener. So I'm just going to put this here and assume like kind of a cinch here. Humans like odd things. It tends to be more interesting to us visually. Odd numbers are more interesting, visually interesting than even numbers. Just like asymmetry is more interesting than symmetry, visually. So we'll get that in there. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I'm very much, Gibson, I am very much a whole, you know, you're welcome to paint your own mini differently. I'm very much willing to do that. When people are like, well, I thought that was a blah. It's like, oh, I thought it wasn't, so go ahead. Everybody is a critic, and very few people like understand the amount of work that goes into like some of the things they like to critique. It's like people who critique authors because the author makes a decision for a character or something they don't like. It's like, well, if you didn't like it, write your own book. It's harsh but true. It's like, this is my book, this is my story. I'm sorry you didn't like it. I'm sure there's another story out there for you. There, a little bit of lining to further separate the hair from that leather. Yep, NaNoWriMo. Oh, Tor UK picked it up, huh? So he decided to do that. Interesting. That's what happens a lot nowadays, guys. That's what traditional publishing kind of watching to see which indie books get good sales and reviews, and then they'll come in with an offer. It saves them taking a chance and a gamble on the book out the gate. Well, I hope it does. I hope it does well when they do the release on it. It should, with Lit RPG so popular. That's a guy, and it does have a lot of good reviews. So hopefully he does well on it. Alrighty. So now I need to work on bringing out some of the filigree over here, which is originally why I mixed up this liner. Now that I've got most things actually blocked in on this model, amazingly. And yeah, I'm liking this so far. I have a few things down here. I have to do the rings and stuff. I have to do the little corks on the top of the bottles. And I'll probably do the bottles themselves in yellow when I do the light in the lantern here. But I'm still working it, so we'll see. There is no other really logical accent color here. Accent colors can be hard on muted figures. I mean, I do have gemstones up here and on the bracers, and there's the lantern. But I really have to look at, like, and kind of what I've got here is a red, yellow, blue color scheme. I have a reddish leather, I have yellowish hair and metals, and I've got the blue. So I could pick a random other color to go with, but I really feel like it has to be like an orange or a yellow. And I don't like the idea of the orange as much. So any indie author could do that, though, Turvyn. As long as they've got, you can rent a studio and do your own audiobook. A lot of authors who have good speaking voices do choose to do that. But an equal number of them know how hard it is to do your own audiobook and decide not to. But yeah, I wonder if he sold print only rights, or if he sold. Probably didn't sell audiobook rights. Oh well, that's me talking biz talk. Oh no, the lantern is everything is muted. The light coming out of it, Polly, will be brighter, but not bright. I'm still not going to go any more saturated than lemon yellow. 9009. Because you can get away with doing a bright accent color on a muted figure, but you've got to keep in mind that it's going to be very distracting. So you have to be careful about how you use it. So I'm likely going to use this for my light sourcing on the lantern, but it's not going to be like the light sourcing isn't going to go very far on the lantern, to be frank. Because I'm painting her as if she's more in kind of a little bit of like an evening, but the light from the sky is still going to be pretty strong compared to any light from the lantern. But yeah. So always think about that when you're considering choosing a brighter accent color for your muted color scheme. It's totally doable, but pay attention then to color composition. The problem is that the lantern is so low on the model, and it's out and away from the main focus of the model. And so putting just a bright yellow down here would be very distracting and it would pull away from the figure. So you don't want to do that. Now I could maybe balance that if I wanted to create like kind of a gold energy on the sword, traveling down the sword, to balance that out. And then I would have to punch up the saturation on the hair to kind of tie that together. I could do it in that case. I could make it work. But I don't know if that's something I'm going to want to do. It depends on, I think I'm going to go with a bluish darker metal on the sword, actually. Pretty like, almost like stormy colors for the sword. And in that case, I could do yellow energy. I could make it work. But it depends on how bright this gold ends up, because I don't want any effects on the sword fighting with the NMM. Yeah, yeah, now that you guys had mentioned it, like, I do remember that his creds included like audiobook stuff. Well, good. I'm glad to have introduced some people potentially to that book, because like I said, it's a fun little book. It's a very fun little book with fun characters. And since I haven't painted the blade at all, I can be very smudgy and just like not even really a line around it. I can just put these big blobs around it because I'm going to paint over it anyway. So I don't have to be real precise until I go to get these cutouts. This is a really nicely sculpted hilt. I really like the design. Alrighty, let's get some of the rest of this. So you can see how everything now is kind of being brought out a bit more. Get these details kind of accentuated by the shading. One of the problems with the lantern is there aren't very many cutouts. So it's got more cutouts actually on the side away from the person than from the model than it does toward her. There's a little bit of a cutout there, but not a lot. So I'll have to really think about how much light I want coming out of that. But yeah, it's starting to get real, guys, because as we come to the end of this year, next year I have to publish my books. I made a promise to myself, so there's a lot to do. I have to learn a layout software to lay my book out for ebook, because I want it to look nice. I have to hope my cover artist that I've waited so long and patiently for, I hope she comes through. I feel like she's like she gets the vibe, so carbon scoring, but it's very close to Templar Blue. There's so many Shark Bite. There's a lot of gray blues that would work fine for this. Something like it. Actually, it's really close to Twilight Blue. 90 or 90-19 or 90-20, 90-20. But yeah. But I do really like, I love blue grays. I just do. Like, there cannot be enough pretty blue-grays in the world for me. So I'm kind of happy to be doing this figure because I really love muted. I love blue-gray, and I really like it on this model. They are very underrated. They go with a lot of stuff, actually. They're a decent neutral for matching a lot of different things. Alrighty. And we are going to do more work on the blue as well. It's just like, since I did that initial wet blend, I'm just like getting everything else in line, and then it's just like, well, now I have to think about how much more I want to punch up this color. Okay, so we've got that kind of figured out. Now I need to, I think I'm going to actually add a little bit of brown to the top of these bottles. Need the corks to be cork. And actually, I'll probably grab that gray blue and use it to do the glass. If I just decide to do these potion bottles more as like I could use this color and do it. Because these up here, the top of these where the stoppers are pushed in would definitely be glass. Or clay, depending on how you want to figure your potion bottles. I never actually like understood why potion bottles wouldn't be like metal. I mean, you're spending all that money to brew a potion, and you don't want it to break when you're out adventuring. And glass and clay are both very breakable. It would be kind of a bummer if you were fighting something and you broke all your potions. Magical glass, right. See, I was not going for drow, and it doesn't say drow to me at all, Dogfather. It's not dark enough for me for drow. In fact, if it's reading as drow to you, I want to change it. Because I really didn't want her to be a dark elf. But I guess I could leave it and just let it be. At some point, when your art goes out into the world, the perception is the viewers, and it's no longer up to you. Same with writing. Well, some people would think that this kind of muted out color would be a drow color, though. I mean, it's fair. It's fair. And if I had made her hair white, that's actually kind of why I avoided white hair and went with blonde, because blonde wouldn't be seen normally on a dark elf. I wanted her to really read as muted out. Like, and part of this is lighting, and it depends on how I handle some of the rest of these colors. If I were to wash out more the leather and the gold, this would read possibly more as like an evening model. Yes, correct. That's true. Yeah, there are definitely worlds where dark elves are more pale. But yeah, whatever works for you. I'm not gonna judge. My concern with the dark elf comparison is that I did not mean for her to be evil, and so that's why my initial reaction was I need to change that then, because that's not the way I really wanted the character to be seen. But again, once you do something, it's no longer in your hands how people interpret it. Not any piece of art, not any piece of writing. I have to remind myself of that a lot. Otherwise, it's too easy to get away from your initial conception that you wanted the model to look like. That's old D&D. Old school, Valendar. Old. I remember those. Yep, exactly, Agent Marvel. Yeah. Like, there comes a point where you're like, oh no, I didn't want people to see it like that. And you change it, and you change it, and you change it. And then it's no longer what you wanted it to be. And I think that that is the biggest mistake. Just do it the way you want it and let people interpret it how they will. So I'm adding in some highlights to get this gold to come up now. Again, our colors, that's the color I'm working with right now. And that is a mixture of lemon yellow, 4 drops, and shield brown, 1 drop. Giving me a very muted gold, which fits with this. No, that's fair. Interpret it however you would like. I mean, your gut instinct is your gut instinct, and that's the way it is. If I gave her shiny red eyes, then we totally could say drow. But that would not be what I feel the character is. It's almost October, guys. My favorite month. I love October because I love Halloween and I love the weather out, at least out here. I used to love it in Texas too. It's when the heat starts coming down off the highs. And it's the month before NaNoWriMo, so it's always exciting for me because I'm planning whatever I'm going to be writing for Nano. And the anticipation of the book is almost better than the book. Yeah, you can blame my usual avoiding the eyes till the end of the figure. You and David. Yeah, I need to get real about whether I'm going to be hiring a real editor to go over book 2. It's expensive to do so. And after the puppy, I have hemorrhaged a fair amount of money. Okay, I'm going to move up to my next highlight. Kind of figuring out if these colors are going to work before I start blocking in the lantern. I also need to add some more shadows over here, but we'll pop highlights first. Sometimes I block in my shadows first, sometimes I block highlights first. And usually it depends on the complexity of the surface. Often with very small filigree surfaces like this, I will do the highlights first, and then I'll add in touches of shadow wherever I think I can get away with it. So little tiny touches of this light yellow that's mostly lemon yellow with just a little bit of the previous color in it. Shrinking my highlights so I can make things go to a shinier appearance. And a lot of the lining that I did is filling the need of putting the shadows in, but I will need a couple of shadows added toward the end. That looks pretty good. And putting in the lining and then the highlights essentially tightens up all this detail. It makes it read tighter so you see all of the details. This is why lining is, I think, a necessary technique for 28 millimeter. You can dispense with it as you move up in scale, especially for busts. I still use it here and there because I like to tighten up detail. And it depends on what I'm painting though. So for this Saturday, I want to get back into my stream, guys. I'm sorry my health has really compromised my Saturday stream lately. That's on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/paintingbig. And I do it around 3:30 USA Central Time. But I think I'm going to take my new Egyptian model and try to do a Wapple speed base coat on it. Just see how fast I can block everything in. Oh no, Miss Imp. Well, at least it didn't slide into your house. Alright, so I'm going to go and get the side. Always have to look at all the different viewing angles for your MM. I'm going to add a little water to my paint though, because it's gotten a little thicker. I didn't add a lot to begin with. Let's back out and actually just give a revisit to our colors for people who did not come in earlier. We're working with Rogue Shadow, actually thinned down quite a bit as our liner color, liner and shader. I'm going to pop just a little bit of a brush full of water into that. Yeah, I was so exhausted last Saturday, there was just nothing. There was no way. I feel like I'm still like trying, and now it's like I actually did, I had a bit of a hiccup yesterday because I identified one of my triggers, and it's a relatively new trigger. So yay, I know kind of what made my stomach so upset the other day, but boo, now I have to like change my diet a bit. Because I've started to react to one of the natural sweeteners that I was using. So yeah. Another brush full of water here. When you're worried about losing coverage for colors that you need to actually make pinpoint highlights, like this yellow, only add a bit of a brush full of water. Don't add a full drop. A lot of time, because of surface tension, the drops that are going to come out of your dropper bottle are going to be pretty big, and you can get away with adding a little less water if you just use your mixing brush. Mold line scraping mode, huh? Yeah. Yeah, David was looking at the new War Machine stuff. Kind of liked it. We'll see if he goes in on it. I can't remember the, like, am I wrong? Like, guys, I'm not up on War Machine or War Hordes, but I thought it had been forever since they released a new faction, and I think they just did, didn't they? Or they are going to be, like David was watching the video. So, like, how long has it been since they released a new faction? Am I right that it's been, like, forever? I'm going to mix a little bit more of this really pale color. Anybody into War Machine out there can tell me. I'm just curious. Because I think it's all Ed. He's gotten me, like, curious about the industry here and there, and was a little bit worried about Privateer for a while. Yeah, side games, exactly, but it seemed like they put out a new faction recently, or they're about to. And I was just curious, because it seemed like it had been a long time. Now, on the plus side, that means that War Hordes never really had army creep, right? The Dusk faction. Yeah. Okay, so that's it, Crows, thanks. Yeah, that's the one that David was looking at. So I had to remix, get a little bit thinner. There we are. All right, so let's get back into that NMM. Let me blow my nose another time because it's that kind of day. Thank you, allergies. Man, I do not know what is out in the world, like just like wanting to attack my sinuses, but it is definitely there with a vengeance today. Yeah. That's too bad, Kreniko. All right. Gonna do the side of the blade here. Yeah, it makes sense that you would go for Infinity then, because their production value is so high. And the models are beautiful. I was just never really into their visual style. I didn't like the chunky, which is funny because I like chunkiness. Like, I like Final Fantasy. And in a lot of cases, War Machine felt like it was kind of aiming for some of that aesthetic, but I don't know. There's just, I never really liked, never really jived for me. Although I did enjoy painting that Borka bust for their Grandmaster earlier this year. That was fun. But I like the Trollbloods are just fun models. Yeah, Infinity Minis are so pretty. Yeah. Oh, that's too bad, Valandar. Yeah, see, that's just too bad. They could probably benefit from going to Siocast. Alright, so just a little bit of highlight here on the side and a little bit on the bottom. But I don't think there's many companies in the industry that couldn't benefit from considering Siocast at this point. I hope it becomes the norm because there's so many beautiful sculpts out there, but they're being shot in like plastic that just isn't like great quality. And gosh, if some of the models in the board games that we've gotten, you know, were actually shot in a decent plastic, there's some beautiful stuff being done, but then it suffers in the casting. I want Siocast to like take over the world so that like board game companies use it to do their minis. And we get beautiful, beautiful, high quality translations of the 3D prints that are just as good as resin. Then I will be spoiled. Oh, then it will be on. Then it will be really on. Oh, and hey, for those into Games Workshop's boutique games and who like Mordheim, like I do, Rathmore on my Patreon just mentioned that they're linked to me that they're re-releasing Cursed City, which is one of their kind of one-off Warhammer Quest things, and it's up for pre-order on October 1st, and I don't really care about the game, but the models are very Mordheim, and so I've been tempted to pick it up forever, and now that I know I can pre-order it and not pay extra buying it, scalping it, scalped on Amazon, I'm like, I might just do that. Yeah. Oh no. Sorry, Christodoma. Yeah. Weird have really they've got some really good plastic. David, I think David has painted. I haven't painted Weird for a long time. I never got into the Malifaux game. It's not really my aesthetic, but David likes her minis. Oh, many small parts and no instructions. That's a downside. Yeah. There's blocking in that first set of highlights. I don't know, Trasharama. I was talking about that yesterday. Your wallet needed to be hit by that news. Hey, if you're a Mordheim fan, we owe it to ourselves to buy Cursed City and paint the minis. The minis look so good. I really, ever since I saw some of them at Golden Demon, people were painting them because they were just really, there were some really good models in that set. And I really, really have wanted the game. And then, of course, Rathmore's been sitting there on my Patreon, slowly painting all of it. And I'm just like, because the skeletons look fantastic. Like, we were talking about skeletons yesterday, guys. Like, those skeletons I like. I like those skeletons. So I'm like, all right, maybe I need to pony up and buy this. Plus, it's probably not a bad game. Like, it's not like people seem to think it's an enjoyable game. It has its faults, but then so does every other, fantasy miniatures board game that I've looked at in the last or played in the last couple of years. So I think I'm willing to invest. I'll pre-order it. Make David play it with me. Yeah, the minis are fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, Mordheim is my all-time favorite Games Workshop game. Hands down. Still have the rulebook somewhere. And you can find it online. There's a huge online community that loves Mordheim and has kept it existing, doing fan content and stuff. So you may want to look at that, Gibson. Because it's not hard to, just kit bash minis for it. And it's still a really fun game. We ran campaigns at my game store back in Madison, and they were so much fun. We had just so much fun. Okay, that's good to know, Trash. I hope it does. I'm gonna pick up the expansion also, because why not? In for a penny, in for a pound, right? So, man, I'm using a lot of archaic expressions on this stream today. Maybe it's that I was reading the mystery book, and it's put me back into the British cozy mystery mindset. Oh yeah. Yep, Kuroniko, exactly. Yeah. There were some great witch hunters. I had a friend who played nothing but witch hunters for that game. I always played Possessed because I loved nothing more than to promote a Beastman and then level it up to truly terrifying levels. I would always arrange to get my Magister killed so a Beastman or a Mutant could take over the warband. But anyway, I'm excited. So come October, come Saturday, I'll be putting in an online pre-order for Curse City. Made my decision. My financial system, that organization system that I started following, has essentially makes you take a profit disbursement. So it essentially forces you to take part of your money and set it aside, and then make yourself buy something nice for yourself from it. It's kind of funny, but it's awesome. I found myself looking forward, every 3 months, as you're setting aside money for everything everything under the sun, you're also setting aside money to give yourself a bonus. So with my bonus, I'm going to buy Curse City. Curse City Games Workshop. It's a Warhammer Quest game, but it's very strongly vibing along the lines of their old Mordheim game, Kodiak, which was really kind of a dark fantasy in a city that has been overrun and taken over by evil elements. Was my favorite Games Workshop game, and Curse City has that aesthetic. So John Blanche artwork, really creepy and kind of macabre. I just love it. Yep, Old Inquisitor. Yep. You know what though, Valinor? That I still have Inquisitor figures because they were really nice figures. I still have one of the Cal of Jericho, the special limited one. I have that, and I have the Elven Ranger. I'm still gonna paint them one of these days. Every time I go through my collection and think about just giving them to someone else, I'm like, no, I still like these figures enough to paint them. So yeah, I still have Inquisitor figures. So I don't think that your friend having that collection, I hope he still enjoyed the figures, because the figures for that game are really awesome. I still have an Artemis too, I think. Or maybe I gave that one away. Maybe I sold that one when I moved, because I painted... Artemis was the Space Marine for that game, and it was huge, 80 millimeter or 90 millimeter to scale. And I may have sold that one, because I painted so many of them. When that model came out, everybody was painting those suckers up for eBay, just to do have a Space Marine, a big Space Marine of the chapter that you liked. They were selling really well. It's a beast of a model, because cast in metal and huge and chonky, so it had all sorts of issues. But I did a Space Wolf version, I did a Chaos World Eaters version, and I did, oh man, one other, and I don't remember what it was. Maybe a Dark Angels. Right, exactly, Valandar, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Mordheim. Yep. I would have been tempted. Like, if I would have been there, I probably would have dropped that money trash. Because, oh my gosh. Because I think, like I said, I think I still have the book, but the card buildings were so cool. Though now I think I would have fun trying to make the card buildings out of, like, actual foam core and stuff. I think I'm a lot better at terrain now than I was back in college and post-college. And I have some beautiful resin buildings to use for a Mordheim too. Man, now I'm just getting into it. I was like, oh, I could. I love Mordheim. What can I say? I still miss it. Yeah, exactly. No, it's just great. It was a great game. And super I just love the leveling system, and sure it had issues, but it was super fun. And yeah, some warbands inevitably got OP, but it was still fun. Like the Vampire Lord's totally OP. Like, once that vampire got going, good luck taking it down. But it was still fun. Oop, I missed something. Which game is that for, Silvestro? I missed that. Oh, Malifaux. Thanks. Yeah. See, David liked Malifaux, and he likes mechanics and stuff, so that makes sense. Oh, it's already after 11. Dang. Well, I better get to putting final highlights on this sword hilt. We've talked about a lot of stuff today, guys. It's been fun. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Especially with me feeling so lousy lately, it's good to come and hang out with all of you. And Miss Imp, I hope that you do not blow away. I hope you make it safe, and that your possessions and your home also make it safe through that hurricane. Sounds pretty ugly. You know, if you need anything, much as we're all remote from you, but if you need anything, you let us know, right? Yeah. Yeah, have fun, Turgeon. Yeah, y'all have a great day. Y'all have a good, solid fall day. May you have, like, may the world smell good wherever you are. There. I love the smell of fall. I went out this morning to help David with the puppy cleanup, and it smelled great. Yeah, because, like, if we can get help to you via, like, you know, Amazon or the postal, like, the postal service, I guess, or UPS, assuming they will be delivering after the crazy, like, we'll help. You know we will. You're one of our peeps. We help our peeps. Do a little bit of highlight going straight down. And straight down over here. There we go. Get that shine going on. Yes, may your Waffle Houses remain open. Exactly. All right. So I like this. I have not done the pure white highlight, and I need to do that. Do a little bit more over here as well. We started late, so I'll do for a few more minutes. Been running kind of late. Apologies on my abject lateness lately, guys. It's hard to get going in the morning sometimes. As I try to work out a diet that does not make me have a slightly upset stomach at the best of times. I appreciate y'all's patience. I also appreciate just being able to do this stream, like still being able to work, even feeling kind of icky. Like if I had to leave the house, there's no way I would be doing it, but I can do this. I can sit at a desk and hang out with my compadres. Yeah, I wouldn't be walking either. If you have basketball hoops blowing down your streets, I think that would keep me from the Waffle House, Miss Timp. Oh my God. That's funny. Funny, not funny. Funny, alarming. The Waffle House Index is a real thing, huh? Hey, Trashrama, if you're still out there, I assume that somebody has maybe done a house rule to kind of fix that AI in Curse City. Do you know? I mean, usually gamers are like that, right? Usually, if we notice something that's broken in an otherwise cool game, we'll try to house rule it to make it better. I'm sure there's people out there that have done it. I probably should just go look. Yeah, that's a bummer, Twistonoma. I get it. Player characters had range attacks and the mob didn't. Oh, got it. Okay. So yeah, so if the expansion gives us ranged mobs, then that would solve that problem. Well, hopefully they fixed that then. Hopefully they actually listened and brought in some more challenging opponents that way. Thanks for the heads up on that. There we go. Now we're getting some shiny bling. Shiny bling. So what I want you guys to look at for this last bit of the stream, you all know that the main criticism of NMM is that it doesn't look good from every angle. And I've disagreed with this for a while because I think that really if you just look at prime viewing angles, you can connect the dots in such a way as to make it work. And so here I want you to look. This is working. Working. And you can see how I'm connecting this highlight up here in such a way that it flows from one side to the other. See this? And even here and there. So it is, if somebody tells you it's impossible to make NMM look good from every angle, that's not true on every model. It is true on some models, I would say. It gets harder on some models. But with small areas especially, where you've got a prime viewing angle on front and side and rear, it's often perfectly plausible to have these areas connect in such a way that actually makes sense from any angle. Yeah, that is a bummer, Miss Tim. Although I wonder too if the employees kind of have the right of refusal there. Like, I can see some employees going, it's a point of pride, and I can see some employees going, heck no, I'm not going to do that. So yeah, so the key of doing NMM and having it look good from different angles is to look at what are your primary viewing angles. And on almost every 28, it's going to be the front and the back and sometimes the side. Like here, there will be a side angle or an oblique angle like this because this is a face on. So it's an obvious viewing angle and people will want to look at the lantern. So I would say this is a viewing angle, this is a viewing angle, this is a viewing angle, and potentially this is a viewing angle just because of the cool bird head and the sword. So four prime viewing angles in general. And once you identify those viewing angles, you can try to make your NMM look good from those primary viewing angles and try to fix any like big like disconnects where you see like, oh, that doesn't look good at all, kind of figure it out, troubleshoot it. All right, this is about right. And I am going to go and let a pupper out. Yeah, comer fired. Yeah, you're right. It's not, Mistim. You're right. I was being optimistic. He is Monday. Because he's after the genie. And the genie is Friday. Genie is tomorrow. Twisted Oma. Oh? Oh, funny, Valendar. So Valendar says actually that Waffle House might do it that way. I mean, I don't think they could fire employees for not coming in during dangerous weather. I think they'd get their butts sued, depending on whether it's a right to, it depends on the state, right? But yeah, if the manager's from Minnesota and owns a snowcat, that's pretty funny. Yeah, exactly. I would think that there would be that would be an optional. I could see it being a point of pride for some people, but yeah, I would hope that Waffle House would make it optional. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tomorrow we will be working on Le Genie. We will be working on that dark skin tone and working on that. Yep, and come back at 2 p.m. for Josh and keep him company too so he's not lonely on his stream. Yeah, hope to see you all tomorrow morning. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.